Conservation Commission meeting, it's now 7 o'clock, so we will begin. What do we have on our first meeting? I need to read here.
Thanks. See, I already forgot what to do.
Big print, thank you. Conservation Commission land disturbance permit. According to Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw and Regulations, notice hereby given the intent of John Glassa / Glassa Engineering on behalf of Stephanie Kuby, Gradum LLC, to file a land disturbance permit application for construction of a 17,700 square foot single-story addition to an existing building and associated parking stalls located at 2250 Boston Providence Highway, Walpole. Plans on file with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing will be held in above matter in person on January 11, 2023, beginning 7 p.m. All interested person request to be present. Do we have anything? This is from the town engineer.
Just a little bit.
Office has received the
Yeah, you don't have to read it, just read the comments, so go to the,
comments on sheet 4 for grading and drainage. Provide additional spot grades at all corners of the parking and at proposed curb roundings, beginning and end. Improve the water quality recharge by replacing the existing catch basin in the front parking lot with water quality catch basin and replace existing dry well with galley or panel underground infiltration system. Existing connection to the Fox Hill drain, to the Fox Hill Drive can be maintained. On sheet 8, need to add details for non-paved surfaces, tree planting, landscape islands, and temporary sediment basins. Revise the typical drain trench detail to have a 6-inch of selected material over the pipe. For both proposed underground infiltration systems, show the roof drain and list the invert elevation. Below the north pond detail, option 1 is listed. Is there an option 2? If not, remove this label. List the 100-year elevation for each pond in the detail. List the appropriate bottom of test pit elevation below each system and note that no groundwater or mottling was observed, and note the separation to the bottom of the system. In sheet 9, note the existing 12-inch tree to be removed where the utilities will enter from Fox Hill Drive. Insert notes on the east side and north side of the existing building, noting that pavement will be removed. On sheet 12, recommend adding a note indicating that the silt sacks may be removed for larger rain events with notifications, consultation of the conservation agent. Show location of temporary sediment basins to be sized for 1-inch runoff. The stormwater management report. The report is well prepared and drainage design complies with both DEP, Conservation Commission, and Planning Board requirements. Revise the report to reflect updating the existing drain system in the front of the building as requested above. Rational calculations and catchment plan need to be provided based on the 10-year storm. Infiltration system number 1, South Pond, 100-year elevation 256.13 from the drainage report. Design of top system is elevation 254.65. Verify that this modeling is correct, as the only storage available above elevation 254.65 is pipe, catch basins, and the storm scepter. In report for the proposed south infiltration system, an 8 by 5 foot broad crested weir is modeled as outlet control. I do not see a weir controlling flow unless the system ponds and overflows a curb. So I do not see a curb controlling at that elevation or a surface pond modeled in the system. We anticipate reviewing revised submissions and remain available should the board have any questions. Now, have you seen this?
Yeah, and I've talked with Carl about his comments. So some of those,
I just want to know if you have that. This is from the Board of Health. The Board of Health will not be able to provide comments prior to January 11th. Therefore, Health Department would like to provide internal comments based on the Board of Health standard motions. Health Department has no concerns at this time. I think that's it, right? Okay, representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Glosser, Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And as you said, I'm representing Dr. Stephanie Kuby, who's a veterinarian neurologist and pain management specialist. So we can get into that. Get into it quickly because I know we're not really here for use, special permit or anything like that. But I think it's important to know exactly what the business is that goes on here. But so let me just go over the existing conditions quickly. Most of you are probably familiar with this property. It was Fox Hill Driving Range at one point. It's next to the old Dimitri's restaurant that was here in Function Hall. And then this is, on this side, this is Fox Hill Drive, which comes up from Boston Providence Highway and into Foxborough and serves a number of business and commercial enterprises back there. Behind this lot, there really is just vacant land here and both here. And then on this side, as I said, it's the Dimitri's, it's the function hall and you know, large parking lot, whatever, here. So you can sort of still see the driving range there. This was the building that was built as part of the driving range development. And the same, here's the parking lot. This was an extension of the parking lot that was gonna serve a mini golf area that was never built. These are the bays that were laid out for the driving range. And there's a building behind this right here. It's hard to see because he put it in the same color, but there's kind of a covering so you could hit golf balls theoretically in the winter. And then all of this land up to the stone wall here, and most of this was denuded and was made grass. It's now, because of Dr. Kuby's business, you know, it's sort of been left to sort of grow on its own, but you can still, I mean, we drove right in here and had no issues at all. So that's what the existing conditions of the property look like. As far as topography, let me just get into that quickly. Some of this in the front sheds off towards Route 1 because this area up here is probably 4 or 5 feet higher than Route 1. That's always been like that. The rest of this in the back sheds to the rear, and then you can see there's a contour line like this making a V, so any water that does run off would run into this area and down towards the abutter here. There's actually a bit of a berm that was built across here as part of the development of the driving range, but and the water would actually, any runoff would actually have to rise up before it ran off. But the truth of the matter is there really isn't any runoff in this site at all, or any noticeable runoff or any visible runoff. And it's the same with the rear, kind of goes to that area right there. The reason I say there's no runoff is this is, even though it's shown as what they call urban land, the nearest soils here are Merrimack soils, and we've done a number of test pits on this soil, on this site over the years. So it's Merrimack soils. Merrimack soils are hydrologic group A, and it's really nothing but sands down to, I don't know, as deep as we dug down, 12 feet or so. So it's just a big area of sand. So in its current condition, there really is very little runoff from the site. So we're just interested in the Walpole part of this site, and that's what Dr. Kuby is proposing to change, to alter. So here's the existing building here that you saw on the existing conditions. This is the area of the parking that exists now in the driveway coming in off of Fox Hill. And the proposal is to build two additions. One that's 17,700 square feet, and that's right here. And then a smaller one of 1,922 square feet, and that's in this location here. And as part of that, we're going to add, we're going to add 40 parking spaces, so there's going to be a total of 100 parking spaces. And so those are going to be here in this portion of what was, sort of the golf ball landing area, but the Walpole part of it. And then this is all going to be redone to bring it up to current code. The asphalt there is old and needs to be brought up to, a more usable surface. So that's what the proposal is. So let me just tell you a little bit about that. So Dr. Kuby is basically a canine neurologist, and she's also a surgeon. So her business is very specialized, and what she wants to do is she's there by herself now, and she's going to bring in 7 more doctors. So each doctor does about 4 procedures a day, and a procedure could just be an MRI or an X-ray or something like that. So it's not really a high volume use. It's not like retail where they have lots of cars coming and going. There'll probably be at the most in this parking lot about 35 or 40 cars when the operation is sort of at its max. Right now she has maybe 7 cars or so. So maybe there'd be a little bit more, maybe 50 or so. But we're just sort of trying to follow the zoning and lay the thing out so we can get it approved by the planning board and the zoning board. But what Dr. Kuby does not do is, there's no dog grooming, there's no nail cutting, there's nothing like that. Her role is to dogs that are in pain, dogs that might be physically in pain, their hips, bigger dogs and that sort of stuff. So that's what she does. She doesn't do general veterinary medicine. So my point is that it's a very sort of clean operation. There aren't tons of dogs there at any one time. Each doctor or surgeon's just dealing with one dog at a time. There may be, every once in a while, a dog that needs to stay there overnight, but someone stays with that dog, and it's similar to a person going to a hospital and having an operation, so someone will stay with that dog overnight. The dogs, it's not like general veterinary, the dogs don't come out and immediately poop all over the place or whatever. So we don't really worry about that, or she doesn't worry about that. That's not a concern, that's not really something that is part of her business. So the other thing is, these days, all the x-rays and MRIs, everything's done electronically, Everything's done with imagery, so there's no chemicals, there's no acids, there's nothing like that that is stored or used at this site. So as far as that goes, I hope I've sort of given you a clear picture. It's a fairly clean, a fairly small operation compared to what could other types of operations that could happen on this site. So you read the comments from the town engineer, so let me just show you. And the other thing about this is we're in Water Resource Overlay Protection District 3, so we have to meet the full stormwater management regulations of the Mass DEP. We have to show the town engineer and the planning board that we've done that. So we think we've done that. I've talked with Carl. I have no problem with what he wants to do. We've matched our rates of runoff for the 2 and 10, and actually for the 100-year storm, even though we're not really required to do that. And we've also matched the volumes up to and including the 10-year storm. And, you know, not saying it's easy, but it's easier than other sites because, as I said, this site, you know, down 10 or 12 feet is sand. So the perk tests that we did, we don't really do soil, do drainage based on that, but the perk tests we did here for the Board of Health is mostly 2 millimeters. So what we're gonna do, so right now, the drainage for this site in Walpole is just this set of catch basins, and there's a dry well here, and it actually eventually connects out to
What
the-
sheet are you looking at, John?
I'm looking at sheet on 4. It should be grading and drainage sheet 4.
Go ahead.
So, just pointing out that, and it's one of Carl's comments, so there's kind of a double catch basin here, and then there's a small dry well, and then there's a connection which actually eventually goes out to the Mass Highway connection. And that we're not changing. Right now, Carl's asking us to change, but we didn't show it as being changed. And then the rest of our drainage for the rooftop, here where we have drains going around and bringing water to underground recharge or infiltration basins. There's 2 of them. That's why there's on one of the sheets it says option 1 somewhere. That was just a sort of little Scrivener's problem that should have been taken off. So there's 2 of them. And I think they're labeled 1 and 2. They're here. Rooftop water connects in directly because we don't have to sort of clean that before it's discharged into that. But because we have soils with a rapid infiltration rate, the soils from the runoff from the pavement does have to go through a storm scepter first and then into, so deep sump catch basin with a hood or with a snout, we spec a snout, and then a storm scepter, and then into the infiltration basin. So there are 2 of them. You can see they're rather large. And as I said, they will allow all of the water up to a 10-year storm to infiltrate back into the ground. So the comment from the town engineer, from Carl Baldoff, was that, you know, hey, John, how come you didn't put something, you know, in the front? And I think when we did it, we really weren't thinking that they were gonna kind of rip up that whole pavement and redo it anyway, so we didn't put anything there, but we will. So I just want to see, so it'll be a little bit over and beyond what we need. But we told Carl we'll put a storm scepter catch basin right here, and then allow that water to, or that runoff to recharge back into the ground in some sort of similar infiltration devices here. So the rest of this site will be just loamed and seeded and maintained like that. We're not proposing any work in Foxborough, and that's on purpose because we'd rather only go to one set of boards for permitting. And also, it allows this property to be, you know, either sold if Dr. QB wants to sell it, or can be developed separately from the Walpole site. Even though the land is shown in one deed, but it's actually 2 separate pieces of property that are shown separately. This is registered land court, so they're 2 separate pieces of property. each one with frontage on Box Hill Road and this property with frontage on Boston Providence Highway. So, we will be in front of the planning board for site plan approval and for special permit to have more than 15% cover in the Water Resource Overlay Protection District 3. And we will be in front of the zoning board. There's a little bit back and forth with that, but the current building commissioner, and we're not arguing with him, I'm just telling you how this worked out. Looking through the uses, decided that this use, this veterinary use, because it's not really specifically spelled out in the zoning, his recommendation was to go to the zoning board and have them issue a special permit, so that down the road, there's no, when Dr. Kuby goes to sell or whatever, there's no question as to whether all of the permits were gathered for this project. Because when you get into, things that are, worth this amount of money, there's a lot of eyes looking at projects before, money can be exchanged from banks to owners or buyers, et cetera. So that was his recommendation. We're not fighting him on that. So those hearings are coming up. I think next week we have the planning board, and then the week after that we have the zoning board. So there will be some revision to the plan in accordance to what your town engineer said. I generally don't do those until we get in front of the board, just because I got yelled at once by the planning board when I brought in revised plans. I wasn't supposed to do that, I guess, so. I guess other than that, Mr. Chairman, I could answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Landis?
Oh, I didn't go over the construction period plan. I'm sorry, do you want me to go over that quickly?
What have you got?
Yeah, let me just, it only takes a second.
What
I
is
know
it?
you have a full-
Construction period
The
plan.
construction period plan, I just want to show you where the erosion control is going to be and the stabilized construction entrance. So the construction period plan is on sheet 10.
Is there a bunch of people in the hall? Maybe they should be encouraged to come in and set up chairs.
How many chairs?
I mean, there are chairs that could be sat in, and I think there's as many as 8 people out there now.
Plenty of chairs.
You wanna
You want to
come
come
in?
in?
Okay, so what do you got? Let's keep moving.
Okay, here's the construction period plan, sheet 10. So we have, as I said, this, the topography of this land is it's flowing this way and this way. So the high point, like sort of through here. So erosion control goes all the way around, or starts on Fox Hill Drive at the existing entrance, goes all the way around in front of Route 1 and up on the abutter to the west, and then across, all the way across the back. So that nothing, this is the direction of flow, so nothing from the site will be flowing off of the site. There'll be an erosion control barrier around it. And then our stabilized construction entrance is here, which will be a new curb cut. So prior to them putting in the new curb cut, we're going to put a stabilized construction entrance at that location there. And I guess the other quick things I should tell you is this will be reconnected to the water line out in Fox Hill Drive. And there's a septic system which is behind this, the building here. Okay, so,
So
sorry.
is it gonna be a foundation, or is this gonna be a slab? Or are you gonna be excavating and stockpiling the material? Did you show it on that plan?
So it's a slab, it's not a full depth excavation, but obviously there will be some material to be piled. It won't be a huge pile if this, comparably speaking. And there also will be some for the septic system itself, because, they have to sort of excavate it out, put it on the side, install the system,
And are you showing that on the plan, and is there a temporary basin during construction, or is it just,
well, we really didn't, this is a very flat site, so we didn't really show anything, but we can add things. I mean,
I was just
it's a-
asking if you've anticipated that and if you're showed it on your plan, but you don't think you're gonna need anything?
I don't think we're gonna need any temporary basins. It's just a very flat site, I mean, it's just, there isn't any runoff there. I mean, by theoretical calculation, there's runoff, but I've never seen any runoff. And I've been involved with this site since 1992, I believe.
Okay, I just wanna know if it was thought of and addressed, so.
Anything else, John?
No,
Okay. Landis, anything else?
No, just, I mean, there are definitely some of the comments by the town engineer are applicable to this permit, having to do with stormwater management, and I think he also mentioned more detail on the landscaping plan. You said it's gonna be loam and seed, is there a landscape plan?
There is
I mean,
a landscape
part of the land disturbance permit is, to let us know what type of, green infrastructure, if any, that you can apply to the site, other than just creating more pavement, especially if you're gonna be, I mean, I understand you're infiltrating a fair amount with the infiltration units, but if you're requesting a waiver for, over 15% impervious surface, so you're paving more than would be allowable on the site under the, Water Resource Protection District?
that's
Or are you
right.
doing landscaping as well?
Yeah, there's a landscaping plan.
So he's asked for more details, is that?
Right, so what my point is this, that everything that the town engineer said will be incorporated on the plan. So if you, or when you decide to close the hearing and vote, if that's a condition, that's fine with us. I've already gone over it with Carl. You know, his main comment, you know, other than, you know, a lot of the stuff is just cleaning up some of the stuff, but not to sort of beat a dead horse, but his main comment was, you know, John, why didn't you add additional infiltration off of that set of catch basins?
Right, and you said you're going to
Right,
incorporate.
so I mean, my sort of comment back to him was, well, you know, it works without us doing that, but it makes sense, because why wouldn't we do that? I mean, we
And I
didn't
will
really-
clarify, these are to the chairman of the Conservation Commission, so it's not just CC to us, these are comments to the commission, so it doesn't just apply to the planning board, just
No,
clarify, but, yeah,
I
okay.
understand. I
And
read-
he did a lot of review while I was out, so he put a lot of detail in it because I wasn't able to.
No.
So they are applicable to this.
No, I understand that, I understand
That's my
that.
only-
And we certainly intend to, so if the condition is in accordance with the town engineer's comments directed to the commission, that's fine.
Yep.
They pretty much matched.
Right. Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
Dean?
No comments, no questions.
Haley?
No comments.
Doug?
One question, for the generator, is there on-site fuel storage?
No, it's gas.
It's gas, okay,
It's gas.
that's my only question.
No questions.
Video? Okay.
Yeah, I have two questions about the impermeable surface. So if well, I mean,
No, they're impervious surfaces, but we're gonna catch the water in catch basins.
I know, but you're asking for permission to have a little bit more of that. And so my question is, why are you going for 100
Sorry,
parking
what
spaces
page
when you
did you-
just told us the business only needs 30 to 40?
Because the people who finance this project tell me that they want 100 parking spaces.
Is that gonna fly with your variance?
It's not a variance, it's a special permit.
Okay,
So the requirements of the special permit is that that this project, even though we're not within 100 feet of wetlands, that this project meet the current Massachusetts stormwater management regulations. So we're going to more than meet that, because we're gonna be adding a little bit more infiltration, a little bit more recharge. But in all layers, all levels, all requirements, we meet that. So we feel we're entitled to the special permit.
Anything else, Beth?
Yeah, I had one other sort of question that I think might have been answered inadvertently. I was just wondering when you, and actually, because you said this is actually two different parcels. It's not, it's one deed, but two giant parcels. I was just wondering if the impervious surface, was calculated town by town. In other words, you've got a massive amount of,
So even if we added in the Foxborough, we still wouldn't meet the 50.
okay. But can you add in the Foxborough? I'm just asking that out of curiosity.
You know,
Is
we
it
would-
done town by town, or is it,
So you can see why my advice to my client was not to add in the Foxborough, because see how complicated that becomes? Because then, we're in front of the planning board, and then they'll go, well, you gotta go to the Foxborough planning board, because, da-da-da-da-da, and then you gotta, and it just gets so complicated. I've had other projects where we had land in two towns, and if there's any way, in my experience, that you can separate them, because it's a nightmare.
okay.
So we're gonna do everything in Walpole, we have no construction in Foxborough, and we would prefer to leave it like that. I mean, at first, we were thinking about even putting detention basins on the Foxborough side, but I just think it gets complicated. They have different rules, you have different rules.
Okay, maybe I have a third question
Yeah.
then. So, I don't think I've ever heard the argument before that the person who's giving us the mortgage is requiring us to have more of something that we typically don't allow. I just don't think I've ever heard quite that argument. It's sort of
Well,
like,
so it's.
What if the
we're not-
mortgage-
We're not above what,
Yeah.
so the town of Walpole has a minimum amount of parking spaces and a maximum. So here, the minimum is 40 and the maximum is 108. So we're not violating, there's no regulation in town that tells us we have to have less than 108. So we have less than 108.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so whether there's other plans in place, I have no idea. But right now, the plan is to add 6 additional doctors to this practice. So Dr. QB is going to have 6 colleagues working with her. Apparently, this has become a very necessary and there's a lot of drive behind this. People have more dogs, there's more dogs, and the dogs are having
Oh, yeah.
more
Yeah.
issues.
No,
Like,
thank-
move on.
yeah,
Anything
that-
else?
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
that's it. I
Okay.
was mostly just sort of curious about, since I hadn't
Yeah.
heard that argument. All right, thanks.
Well, I will wait until the next hearing.
Okay, and you will do you wanted a planting plan?
There is a landscape.
Well,
Have you got one?
Carl's review said more detail.
Yeah, Carl wants
Yeah.
to.
So my point is, the stormwater erosion control bylaw, it's not just about infiltration, it's also about maintaining some of the properties. So some of the green space, some of the natural topography of the parcel. So whatever, I always encourage as much landscaping as possible, including not just grass, and trees and
We're
shrubs.
making, as far as the topography, you're not gonna really see any significant change
Yeah.
in topography.
There's
here.
no swales, and there's no maintaining the trees, and there's no,
There's normal maintenance of the grounds, but there are no sort of swales conveying water or anything like that to maintain. This is strictly more or less of a hard design of, catch basins, storm scepters, and.
traditional.
and the-
Okay, so the additional detail, I guess, I didn't get a chance to ask Carl specifically what he was asking, but it seemed like it was,
Do you have a
The
landscape
landscaping.
plan?
It's, the landscape plan is sheet 7, so it's right.
Sheet 7?
tree plantings, landscape islands, and temporary
No,
sediment.
that was the lighting thing.
What's that was?
Yeah, that's lighting.
So So basically, it's just showing where there's gonna be plantings in the islands. I mean, it's more laid out to meet the rules and regulations of the planning board. They have some requirements for how much planting you have to have around the pavement and inside the pavement. And it's just showing the plantings, and then the rest of it is loam and seed. And that's how to be maintained. And that's, I believe, that there's a right operation and maintenance and long-term pollution.
So Part 3A Standards 5 Stormwater Management Plan shall incorporate the following wherever possible: best management practice and/or recommended by the commission or consultant: vegetative swales, vegetative filter strips, water efficient irrigation systems, pervious paving system, retention basin, bioretention basins, building blending into the natural feature, preserve unique natural features of the site, non-invasive plant species, natural landscaping species, landscape areas that retain water and are appropriate to soils and microclimates, buildings oriented towards the sun. So we're trying to get developers and designers to not just always do the hard landscaping. That, you know, the state's pushing this, we're trying to incorporate this into the bylaw. Doesn't seem like you have any of those in your design, because
I
they
don't know how
weren't
they,
gonna
I don't know how, you know, sort of these stormwater conveyancing, things that you're asking actually.
sometimes in the middle of the parking lot, you can put landscaping
There is landscaping.
Is there landscaping in the parking lot which involves trees that would take out some of the heat island effect?
Well, there's an island that has landscaping in it, and then there's landscaping around the parking.
So does your landscape plan show what is in the landscape beds?
It shows that, there's a landscape schedule.
So it shows trees or shrubs or?
Yeah, you do have.
Yeah, I
there
do
is
see
a-
some trees here and there.
So,
A
I mean,
chart with
the
that.
commission can vote contingent upon the revised plan of the comments from the town engineer, or you can see if the applicants want a continuance.
If you could review, when you're reviewing this, John, that additional green plantings might be of some benefit. Take a look at that.
Yeah,
Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Okay. To continue this, you say you've got planning board next week? Or this week?
planning board next week, and the zoning board will be after that.
Okay, our next meeting is, whatever it is, 25th, which sounds like that's too soon.
The 25th?
It would be our next meeting, but that sounds like it's not that,
I mean, I don't think those hearings would necessarily be closed, but I think we probably have enough stuff on here for the commission to close.
can you be ready on the 25th?
Yeah,
Okay. Someone want to make a motion? We have a hearing at 7, is that it? Okay. Say 7:15. Someone make a motion to continue the hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. So we'll see you 25th at 7:15.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Review the notice of resource area delineation in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of Scott McBride / Genstar of Walpole LLC to confirm the wetland resource boundaries of 32 Industrial Road, map 46, blocks 42, lot 1, in Walpole, Mass. Plans on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing, the above matter will be held in person January 11th, 2023, beginning at 7:15 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. The time is now 7:40. We have some comments here from the town engineer. Review the submittal plan only and note that the plan should be stamped by a registered professional land surveyor. It is currently stamped by a professional engineer. From the Board of Health. Board of Health will now be able to provide comments prior to January 11th. Therefore, the Health Department would like to provide internal comments based on the Board of Health standard motions. The Health Department is not in favor of construction in wetlands and urges owners to adopt standard best practices for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments. I think that's it. Okay, representing the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Michelle Simino from Stantec.
And I'm Ed Roberge from Stantec.
We are here on behalf of Genstar of Walpole to present the INRAD. I might have to just speak to the to your presentation screen there, if you don't mind. We don't have a board for our plan.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to give a little overview?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. We represent Genstar, or Hale Trailer. Hale's owned the property at 32 Industrial Road for a little over 20 years now, and it's located, as you would know, in the industrial park. So this is an area over the last 30, 40, 50 years that has been kind of actively industrial with uses changing and the land area changing. It's predominantly a flat site. Hale's been there for a little over 20 years or so operating as more of a trailer facility, kind of storage staging area. It's time for them to really get a little bit more organized, and they've asked us to come on and look at an operations building that we'll be adding. Obviously, what's important here is to identify resources that are on that property so that we can get started on our design. We got survey completed over the last couple of years, and then the pandemic kind of slowed them down a little bit. So we're back here. We're excited that they want to make a more permanent residence and organize the site a little bit better. So that's a brief, really, in nutshell analysis of where we're at with the owner, and we're happy to be here. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
So I'll just give a little overview of what we did, the resources that we delineated, and what we assessed each to be in terms of jurisdictional resource areas, in terms of definitions. So just kind of go around the plan
Just
here.
one closer to you.
Thank you. Didn't notice that. All right. Do you mind just zooming out to the whole entire plan? So I can kind of give you the lay of the land here. And go in order. Okay, so resource area A, which is off to the, my direction here. Yeah, exactly, off to the east there, is a boarding vegetated wetland. It's a fairly extensive system that starts on the property and goes north onto the combination of the MBTA commuter rail tracks, as well as the, sorry, I've forgotten the name of the company, but the right-of-way, the electric utility right-of-way, goes into the right-of-way and then possibly back onto the property. That is a large boarding vegetated wetland, jurisdictional in our assessment under both the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw. Then we have area 2, which is there. It's delineated by 15 flags or so. That is an isolated area. It's dominated by cattails and phragmites. It kind of lies between the two properties, right on the property boundary, and a lot of anthropomorphic effects in there. It's kind of right in the middle of the operation, if you will. Highly altered, but we were able to, between soils and vegetation, assess that area to be potentially jurisdictional under your bylaw. It is not connected to anything. We traced it in all directions. It's just really an isolated pocket. Then we have this area here, Area 3, which is, if you look at historical aerials, this area was disturbed for many, many, many years. Left undisturbed, we have assessed there to be a wetland there. It is deemed to be isolated. It's a herbaceous dominated wetland, and it was delineated in November of this year. But the vegetation, the soils, the hydrology all play out, and we assess that to be an isolated area, likely jurisdictional just under your bylaw. Mass DEP had some comments, which we can speak to in a little while, with a question about that, but it does seem to be isolated from the rest of the area. The next area is an area we call a drainage way, which is just here kind of hugging the edge of the lot line that flows from this side of the property down along here, drainage, and then it flows under the fence of the solar property and flows, it kind of hugs the edge of the Toa slope from the solar development and flows off into, it just kind of peters out, actually. It doesn't flow into another resource area, and it's not connected to an upland resource area either, so just to mention that. Then we did, because the way we approach things on site is to just flag whatever we think could be jurisdictional, and then sometimes we have to put the pieces together, especially on a property like this with a lot of history of disturbance and having to kind of piece together some things, you know, based on the evidence we could see. So we did flag a little area here, G. There was some red osier dogwood and some other wetland plants, as well as hydrology. But in retrospect, that area is actually, we assess it to be part of the drainage way, which I just mentioned, drainage way 1. I'll just call your attention to a couple graphics that we have in, if you have a copy of the ANRAD. That just has an aerial background and kind of shows where everything is in relation to each other. I meant to mention that in the beginning so you could see the overview.
For sharing.
Yes, if you look at that, the ANRAD, it has photographs of each of these resource areas, which is kind of helpful.
You can share, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so Area G, it flows out of a culvert. It's not connected to anything.
Where are you?
What page?
Oh, sure. I'll call your attention, since we're talking about Area G and the drainage way, call your attention to page 7 of 7 of the photographs, which are Appendix B.
Right.
And then if you'll take a look at photograph 13 and 14.
Got it.
12 is what we called Series G. But again, in retrospect, looking at the overall drainage plans and kind of following the course of that slightly depressed area, yeah, there you go. You can see where it runs under the fence to the solar site, and it does not appear to be connected to our wetland F. And yeah, in the NRAD application, we lay out some background on each one, and you just kind of put forward an assessment, our assessment of whether it's jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act and your bylaw, or both. And we did receive some comments from Mass DEP. I don't know if you want to go over those right now, or how you want to proceed from here, but that's the background on the actual delineation.
Yeah, so I think you should just make, address the DEP's comments if, you know, they're just wanting you to document that it is indeed an isolated wetlands because it's not connected by any stream, which I would agree. I did go out and review the site as well, so I think that's Yeah, that's pretty much what they're asking.
Sure, you want me to just go through the comments here?
Sure, yeah.
No problem. Okay, I'll kind of summarize because they give a lot of chapter and verse.
Right.
So the first comment is provide calculations to the commission to determine if the isolated vegetated wetland are isolated lands subject to flooding and provide one at a time. Provide calculations to the commission to determine if isolated vegetated wetlands are isolated lands subject to flooding. So the two areas that they'd be referring to there, even though they didn't specify, would be F, the one I just spoke of. So this little finger here, and then we found a soils and a hydraulic connection as well, so we connected this area. So that would be one area that they're asking about is isolated. And then the second one would be area E up there. And, yeah, I mean, I can say just, if you review the topographic maps, review the site, we're comfortable with that delineation, and if you do a calculation of this area in particular, based on our preliminary calculations, it didn't meet a 1/4 acre foot of land to an average depth of 6 inches. Now, it sounds like Mass DEP might want some additional calculations to support that.
Well, you should submit them to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, under the Act as detailed in 310 CMR. And then they just state they're making the connection because bordering vegetated wetlands are freshwater wetlands which border on creeks, rivers, streams, ponds, and lakes. So the point here is that if drainage way 1 were to be an intermittent stream or a perennial stream, this could potentially become bordering vegetated wetland. In this case, let me just read the definition of a stream so that we have that for the record. So a stream means a body of water, including brooks and creeks, that moves in a definite channel in the ground due to a hydraulic gradient and which flows within, into, or out of an area subject to protection. So calling your attention back to your photos in the package, doing it by memory here, number 13 and 14. You can see that the drainage way lacks a defined channel and it's not connected to any other resource areas, either up gradient or down gradient. It's just kind of this, whether it's formal or informal, I'm not sure. We couldn't find anything in the records. We did review the files that Landis had to just see if there was any formal drainage systems that had been proposed or built in the past, and we weren't able to find anything in the record, but it definitely appears to be a drainage way rather than a stream. So that leads us to so then they define stream. The commission should determine whether a stream is present or not and borders resource area 2, 3, and 4, or if drainage way 1, or drainage way 1. If present and bordering, then the resource area or drainage way would be jurisdictional under the Act. So again, if going back to the definition of stream, if the drainage way 1 doesn't meet the definition of stream, then this resource area here is not bordering, it's isolated. The question is, does it meet the definition of isolated land subject to flooding, or does it just fall within your bylaw definition of vegetated wetland? And Mass DEP had some other definitions. I'm happy to read those into the record if you like, but they just pertain to, they were just laying out their rationale for their question about A, was drainage way 1 an intermittent stream or perennial stream? Was it a stream? And if so, did resource area F and possibly E, could they be qualified as bordering vegetated wetlands? And our assessment is that it's not bordering vegetated wetland. it is isolated.
Anything else?
Not that I
Okay.
can think of.
Okay, Landis?
So I did go out and walk the site, and, well, I agree, they're isolated wetlands. They're, the one along the border, of the property line, I can't remember which number it is, no, further up, that one, yeah.
Oh, on the property line.
Which one is that?
That's E.
E, right. So it seemed to me, it was just water accumulating from both sides of the property in a low spot. It's mostly Phragmites, and it doesn't hold much quality. And I did go back and look at a lot of the different aerials from different years. There was there was a determination that was filed, some of the commissioners may remember that, back in, was it 2008? I thought I put it in the file, but I didn't see it in the file. I think it was 2008. So the wetlands, the only wetlands on the site that were delineated was the ones that are way far to the rear of the property, which is Resource Area 1. I remember the swale area along the cul-de-sac, and my memory is that that was a stormwater conveyance that was put in even prior to the solar fields. It was sort of an impromptu way to get the water moving around the cul-de-sac rather than across the cul-de-sac. It was around the cul-de-sac, down Industrial Road, and then into a culvert, and then back into a detention basin. So it was, that's my recollection of that whole system. So it makes sense that that's what it is. The other wetlands areas weren't delineated at that time, so I remember walking the site, it was very dry, that's what I mostly mean, it was very dry, it was a windy day, there was a lot of sediment rolling around. I do remember the wetlands to the rear of the property, which when I pulled the plan for that, it did show a larger wetlands system on the property than was delineated this time. So and I noticed that after we did the site visit. So I did ask you to kind of go back and address that, and if you went out and did, I don't know if you did more soil, looked at more of the soils in between your line and the line that was delineated prior to. I vaguely remember there being more standing water out there, but I don't have any particular documentation to that. Can you address that?
Sure. So I have had the opportunity to see this area in November of 2020, when Series A was originally delineated, as well as late November, coincidentally, of 2022. So I only have out of growing season opportunity to review it. However, I did go out upon receiving Landis's comment about that, and just so we're looking at the same area, she's talking about in a previous line, the RDA, the line was presented as going a little bit more, very topographically higher. I can't see what the contour was. But in that topographically flatter area, shows the wetland coming further up into the property. And based on my assessment a little earlier this week, if you look at...
Just gonna see if
Oh,
I
sure,
put a copy of the old delineation in the file.
Got it.
And kind of get an idea. Can't remember if I did or not. No, okay. Sorry.
Oh.
Continue.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is, that's it, yep. You can see, so there's that extra finger that comes out.
They're showing it coming way into the site. And yeah, based on my assessment, if you go out there, when you delineate a BVW, you look at 3 stratas. You look at the tree canopy, the shrub layer, the herbaceous, and then of course soils and hydrology. The tree layer, the dominant species were red oak, American beech, white pine, all very much upland species. There wasn't that much of a shrub layer. I did see some witch hazel. And then what I think the person who did that might have been looking at the time is that the herbaceous layer, you can find some cinnamon fern that goes kind of marches up the hill a little bit further than one would expect. And I found, I wasn't able to do a thorough soils assessment, but based on some spot checks, there's mixed soils out there. So some I pulled up looked marginally hydric, and then others were very much upland, even though you have the cinnamon fern right there. So I didn't reflag anything or hang anything. I wanted to talk about it first. But yeah, that's my assessment. I think I was picturing myself standing out there during the growing season, trying to do the BVW delineation form, and, you know, doing the plot, an upland plot, a wetland plot, and seeing how the veg would play out. And my thought, based on what I could see here in November, was that the canopy layer the tree layer would not pass the 50% dominance test, and probably neither would the shrub layer. The herbaceous layer, it might, because of the cinnamon ferns. And then we'd have to do some, you know, the soils would have to be further evaluated. But in my assessment, as well as the colleagues of mine in November, we chased it a little further down gradient, based on all three criteria for wetland delineation.
Okay. Anything else then, Landis?
Nope.
Dean?
No questions?
Bailey?
No questions.
Doug?
No questions?
Any? Betsy?
No questions.
Al?
Well, in looking at this map, it's a little clearer than on the big scale, but there's a place where there's been surveyed 4 or 5 survey points. Yeah. And I wonder what that was.
It says Boulder, right?
On the former plan or on our plan?
Your thing.
Your plan.
Right here, it says
Survey
Boulder.
points.
Oh, does it?
I think it's a
I
Boulder
can't see
map.
that.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
It's so light that it's hard to read.
Oh. I
I
apologize.
see a boulder right there,
Is it in the center of the
It's-
site?
No, it's down,
just
It
a
is.
little
over to the right,
below the resource area 3 labeling.
right, see that right there?
Oh,
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
You got it, stuff.
Actually, there it
Yeah.
is.
There it is.
Boulder.
It's a boulder.
It's a UFO.
The beauty of being able to zoom in, right?
Okay.
I didn't pick that up. Yeah, Boulder.
Face.
That answer your question then, Al?
And then in the area with the contours, you have some trails. Are they still existing?
Yes.
And do they connect to anything?
No, I did follow one, I don't know if they're formal trails, but you can follow them. They're cleared. I don't know how much they're maintained, but they're fairly cleared. Probably because I mentioned there's not much of a shrub layer, and it's just the canopy and a lot of white pines and everything, so maybe it's just cleared. I don't know. Do you know anything about maintenance back there of the trails? Because you can find a pretty clear trail, and in my experience, it leads down to the right-of-way, the electric power right-of-way.
yeah, I think to try to find an appropriate word, more like a beaten path
It
of some
comes down
sort
here.
to get down there for access and maintenance.
Yeah, there's a lot of little paths. yeah.
Okay, then there's one other question I have. You show all kinds of contours all throughout, but you can't read them because they're so light. And I'd like to know what the general contour of this long, thin wetland area is in relation to the contour out on Route 1 of that big wetland that's part of this industrial property on Route 1. There's a very large wetland right on,
Route 1A.
on 1A. There's a large wetland, and then it rises up. Well, how much does it rise up to make this a non-wetland? Because it's sort of suspicious.
Okay, so just to get our bearings, Route 1A would be kind of way up there,
Yeah,
okay? And there's a large wetland, and are you saying because it connects in the back? or the,
Well, what is the, okay, the level of groundwater at Route 1A where there's huge wetland, water on the surface, and lily pads and all kinds of wetland plants. And then Industrial Road rises up a little bit,
okay,
and on the left is two industrial buildings, and then your lot. Okay, now, is there a connection between the groundwater on your lot here and that wetland down at Route 1A? That's what I'm looking at.
So if I'm looking at if I can interject, I'm looking at the contours of that drainage area that you're talking about. The F-series as they're identified. From the location, say, north as you proceed southerly, it's generally around the 218 contour, and it gets obviously lowered to about 215 in contour toward the cul-de-sac at the end of Industrial Road. When you look up stations, even the first contour grades, it's already about at 210. So if we're estimating, and I am just estimating, by the time you get back out to Industrial Road, I mean to Route 1, because it is generally graded, as you noted, it's low. I'm going to say that grade separation is probably 6 or better feet, and more likely better. We can verify that. I just don't have the grade elevations of that wetland resource area that's out on Route 1 in relation. But I know that it is a separation, and I'm not sure if it would be related. I don't think it would be related.
Well, you see, when I look at the USGS map, I see this big wetland, and it does wrap around out to the railroad, and railroad has a common property line here. So I was just wondering if there's any connection, that's all. That's what I was looking at.
To which wetlands, Al?
Here's 1A,
Right, I know where,
and this
Yeah,
wraps
see,
around the
this
back.
is wetland here.
Yep.
And it comes out to the railroad,
yep,
and I don't know whether it comes into play along there.
It's going to be, that area will be lower than our upland. As you can see those contours, if I'm looking at the same area, that lowest contour looks like about 60 on the USGS quadrangle here, which is that Cedar Swamp area, and everything is upland from there. I would say that it, just based on the contouring, the site is much higher than that area.
yeah, I would agree. The solar site is quite higher, and Hale Trail is higher, and then it slopes down to the Wetlands 1
Yeah.
area. And that, I think that is connected to the other system that, there must be some kind of culvert underneath the railroad, I'm thinking, that's buried. But we didn't, you didn't, I think I asked about it, you didn't see anything. If it's there, it's kind of hard to tell if there's anything there that would connect.
no, I wasn't able
the
to
other
see
side.
anything.
Yeah.
I don't know, when we were out on site, Sean mentioned that he, one of our colleagues, was aware of some work that the MBTA had done on their drainage systems, and so that could have changed. If you noted, I'm kind of thinking of Series A and the questions about that. If you were out there, 15 years ago, before the work, and noted some additional standing water, that could be an explanation, but I don't know that for certain.
Now, in this wetland, the A series up in the corner of that property, there's a pond or a pool of standing water. Is that a vernal pool that dries up in the summer, or is it year-round
We,
pond?
No, that's a great question, Al. We noted that as a potential vernal pool because we were out there investigating in November, so that's out of season for being able to review that. It did have standing water in November, and, you know, typically vernal pools are supposed to dry up, but we know.
Well, in
They
November,
don't all.
in November, with all the rain we've had, that would be full.
Agreed, agreed, and that's why we kept it labeled as a potential vernal pool.
Yeah.
And we did not flag the limits of the vernal pool because we don't know, we'd have to investigate, but we did want to include it in the NRAD.
Okay. That answers my questions enough.
Okay, anyone in the audience have any questions, please identify yourself for the record.
Dan Merrickin, Legacy Engineering, we did the solar project, so I can confirm that the swale around the cul-de-sac was a design drainage feature for industrial road.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Cedar Swamp is about 30 feet below this site. This site's it's just a hill of glacial till. It's flat up there. You got perch groundwater, that's why you have wetlands up there.
Thank you.
There's nothing more I love to do than to be in a vernal pool, so if there had been evidence out there, I would have gathered it at the time.
Okay,
Okay.
you're,
So
Suggestion at
I'm
this
comfortable
point?
with the delineation of the isolated wetlands, and they were really, looking back, they didn't look like they had been changed or had once been streams, or I went pretty far back, and so they, I'm not totally convinced with the difference of the Series A, though. I'm not
Oh,
sure,
right,
yeah, why it has changed so much, why. And I think you indicated you were out there in November, and there wasn't a herbaceous layer, and.
So we didn't have all the evidence.
I have all the
that we'd like
evidence that I
to-
remember, like, so distinctly that, it was a determination, and it was, we're not gonna do anything within 100 feet of this wetlands, and there was a lot of discussion about it, so, there was, pretty much stopped at the 100-foot buffer zone to that wetlands, and it was, so I'm not totally convinced that there isn't more wetlands out there.
so do you want to do some more field checking, or have them review this?
Well, I mean, the commission could approve the other lines and not approve the A-series line. And then you could come back, if you're gonna do anything out there, in your notice of intent, you could come back with more additional information, and we could look at it a little better. That would move you guys forward, if that makes sense.
It would, so in your findings in your ORAD, you would just exclude an official determination of Series A,
Right.
but approve everything else. Okay. Yeah, that seems more than reasonable, and then we could move forward in the design.
Right, and then
Um,
come back with more information, and we could look at it a little more during other seasons.
That would allow us to advance our design, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Thank you for that offer, it's great.
That make sense?
Okay, you satisfied with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. All right, so this is, we are approving wetland series. Keep them in which numbers here? All right, area, resource area number 2, which is the E Edward series.
Isolated wetlands under the bylaw.
And for area 3, which is the F series. And area 4, still, we're still agreeing on this, right?
Yeah,
Even though
yeah,
it's not,
yeah.
yeah, okay. And also the area 4, the G series. Specifically, we are not approving resource area 1, A series.
And we can just note that we would like additional information on that.
And with the, with the note that before any work would be done in that, within that, in that general area, that confirmation be provided with additional information to clarify the actual boundaries of the A series.
Mr. Chairman, may I offer a clarification, if you don't mind, just while we're at this stage? On resource area 4, the G series, we do opine and believe that that's part of the drainage way. Okay, so not as a separate resource area, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, so that would be labeled.
The culvert
We're
flows
agreeing
through.
with your identification, your location.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna call that a drainage
swale.
Okay.
drainage swale, does that make it?
It's not a resource area, it's just drainage,
Okay, so it's
part
a,
of stormwater management.
okay. So so add that on the G series to clarify what the G series represents. Anything else? So we'll make that a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 700. Okay?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Good night, thank you.
All right.
Oh, I think
Seems to me that's
Your
happened
name tag.
before. Anybody awake?
I'm awake now.
Everyone's gonna know who you are.
You could put some tape on
Yeah, I think these tables are narrower than room
it. Okay,
That's-
get this started. Notice of intent in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of Winter Estates Realty Trust to construct a single-family dwelling and associated driveway and appurtenances located at 16R Eldor Drive, map 56, lot 119, in Walpole, Mass. The notice of intent, application, and plans are on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing above matter will be held in person December 14th, 2022, beginning 7:15 PM. All interested persons request to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. Representing the applicant,
Dan Merrickin with Legacy Engineering. So, I presented this to you last time. This was a single-family house law. You guys previously had approved it. The order lapsed, so we reapplied. This is very much the same as what we originally submitted and was approved, and we were just waiting for input from Landis, as I recall. That's it.
okay. So, Landis,
Yes. So I agree that, right, so it's pretty much similar, same as the one that was approved before. And my comments basically, just pertain to special conditions if the commission agrees to issue the order. So I didn't have any particular comments on design that would need to be changed or added.
okay. Dean,
No questions? Straightforward.
okay, Bailey,
No comments.
No questions.
Media, Betsy,
No questions.
Al? No questions. Okay. Yeah, the issue was that culvert, and that's gonna be maintained, so. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. I hear no comments. Someone make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We did? We got a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
700. So,
Why you still here?
I think the issue was that we wanted the culvert maintained so that it would flow. It's flowing in both
Right, so my
directions.
recommendation is that the culvert in the driveway shall be maintained, being cleared to allow flow. And that would be a continuing condition. The no alteration bounds shall be maintained in perpetuity, that would also be continuing. Stockpiled materials shall be trucked off-site or maintained with additional erosion control away from the wetlands boundaries. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of room to stockpile, except maybe on that corner.
There's a corner.
Yeah, on the corner. Roof infiltration unit shall be inspected and approved by engineering. The swale along the driveway shall be maintained as per the plan. Oh, sorry, I said that twice. That's it.
Anybody have anything else?
Repeat.
Okay, so we make that a motion for the,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. 700, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Catching up.
Chairman, I'm gonna, Dan,
Dan?
Chairman, I'm gonna mention now, I know we have Lincoln Road, in between the clock tower, but Legacy Engineering did submit a request to continue the clock tower hearing. So I just wanted to announce that in case there was anybody here waiting for that, before Dan leaves.
Oh, for the, yeah. Okay, then you get in touch, when we get to that, we'll continue it to, what, did you give us a date?
Next meeting, please.
Next meeting? Okay, we'll, have to check and see what the time will be,
Sounds good.
if you're not gonna wait to find out.
No, don't go home.
Okay, good, thank you.
This is, it's Northwood Estates, so I don't know, that's, we saw it last time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
We have another one too to sign then too. Oh, we got it here, okay.
What is this thing?
For too many sheets.
This is just,
Oh, these are stapled together.
yeah, that's Dan just.
Oh, so interesting. Did you give me something?
We're not signing anything.
Am I supposed to sign something?
Oh, no.
You wanna sign something?
I thought you said. It'll be worth something someday.
Sign this.
I thought Doug was handing me something. I got lost.
You ready, Stephanie? Notice of intent and land disturbance permit, Conservation Commission, in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and additionally in accordance with the Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw and regulations. Notice is hereby given the intent, High Oaks LLC / GLM Engineering to construct series of roadways with utilities, drainage, and related grading to provide access and egress to 13 single-family dwellings. Property is located off Delaney Drive and Dover Drive, map 11 and 12, parcel 49 and 84. Plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person on June 8th, 2022, beginning at 7:15 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. We have comments from the town engineer. dated January 11th. Nearly all comments have been addressed. However, we note the following. Numbering is unique to this memorandum. Stormwater Management Report, Appendix B, hydraulic calculations and pipe design needs to be revised using a 50-year storm event as specified in subdivision rules and regulations. 25-year storm was used. Plan review, sheet 14, revised note on basin 2 to indicate groundwater. DPW engineering field notes from test pits indicate this would be at elevation 233.8. Recommended conditions, and the wording may vary at discretion of the Conservation Commission agent. Roof recharge units are required on each lot. Size to recharge 1 inch of runoff over the proposed roof area is shown on sheet 13, details of the approved plans. The exact sizing and design should be provided when plans are filed with the Conservation Commission for each lot or for building permit if no lot filing is required. If determined necessary by the agent and town engineer, an underdrain may be installed in any and/or all of the 3 detention basins. This option would only be available if the basins fail to drain in the required 72 hours and after all other remedies for proper function have been exhausted. This office has no objection to the commission proceeding with these items being conditions of approval if the board desires to move on. The same comments will be issued to the planning board, and this department will make sure that the issues are addressed prior to plan endorsement by the planning board. Are you aware of these
I was
comments?
not, my understanding was that we had a clean letter from the town engineer, and that we had just continued this hearing at the last meeting for Landis to have an opportunity to review those comments.
Okay, so that's dated today, so,
Yeah, but it's for Northwood Estates, so.
Isn't this
Oh,
no?
we're doing Northwood Estates, I'm sorry, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, they were just minor,
Minor issues, yes.
they're minor
I think,
issues.
as he said, that could be included in the order if everything else goes well. So, go ahead.
So again, we continued it from the last hearing just to, again, give Landis an opportunity to look at things, but my understanding is that we have addressed the concerns of with the exception of those few small items, and that we were ready to move forward and close the hearing. We haven't made any changes since the last meeting to the plans,
Okay,
except minor changes to address some other minor concerns from the town engineer.
And I did discuss, sorry, I had jumped Lincoln Road, but now we're at Northwood Estates. I'm still a little foggy, so you have to bear with me. I did go over these comments with Carl, and they seem pretty minor that could be revised. And they, so that if the commission decided to close tonight, that they could be contingent upon receiving the revised plan with these little items. And I think he felt that that the underdrain could be beneficial for this particular site. We generally don't want underdrains because we want all the infiltration to occur in the basin. Sometimes in the past, underdrains were put in and the basin didn't work as an infiltration basin as it should be. But in this instance, he felt that it could be beneficial because of the site, and I agree with that, so that would be fine. My only comments are pertaining to, right, so I included his Carl's recommended conditions in my report for the roof recharge units and the silt sacks. And then just other conditions would be maintenance of basin 1 on lot 11, basin 2 on 1, and basin 3 on 6 shall be responsibility of the homeowner to maintain. The operation and maintenance plan shall be provided to each new homeowner at closing. The Conservation Commission shall receive notification of each new responsible party for maintaining the storm basins within 2 weeks of closing. We're really trying to, in the past as well,
Right.
these lots go into private ownership and then no one cares about them. So I'm trying to tie that in better, to make sure that when someone buys a lot, they know what they have and they do have to maintain the lot. 25-foot no alteration plaques shall be installed along 25-foot no alteration boundary for each lot, maintained in perpetuity. Then the existing sewer easement, so this was another thing that I talked about with the town engineer. There's an existing sewer easement, and originally he wanted the whole thing cleared upland to wetlands to whatever connecting road that is. But he agreed that it should stop, the clearing should stop the 25-foot no alteration area, and the wetlands shouldn't be cleared. So that's a relatively short area. It's not gonna, if the town has to go in and do maintenance, they can just then go in and take care of that. The culvert between the B series and the C series wetlands shall be maintained free and clear. That was culvert that I asked to be put in because I noticed there was some flow, but not a definable channel between those two wetlands, so we want to make sure that that didn't disappear. Oh, and then so the order is for just the roadway and the stormwater basins, and that any clearing for the lots should occur under an individual notice of intent. Seems like most of the lots would require either a notice of intent or determination. So that should be referenced in the order as well.
Anything else?
That was it?
Okay. Dean?
No questions.
Bailey?
No questions.
Doug?
No questions.
Media?
What's up?
Betsy? Al?
No questions.
Okay, anyone in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Okay, hearing none, someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. Okay, so we have the conditions that Landis just went over. Anyone have anything else? And did that cover all of Carl's?
Yeah, he had
Comments?
2 recommended conditions, which I included
You've
the
got
first
those?
2. Yeah.
Okay,
And then we have, boilerplate
yep.
ones that are just.
And we need to identify the lots. So basically, all the lots will need
I think
a,
there was one that was like
Yeah.
completely out.
but then it needs to be noted that all the lots will require,
Was it not?
Is she assisting him?
She wasn't.
require the roof drain infiltration for all lots. And
Right.
all,
That's what the first Carl's condition is.
that's in there.
Yeah, roof recharge units are
Okay.
required on each lot for 1 inch of runoff, even if they don't require a filing with the commission.
Okay. All right, so you have the wording.
It's part of
So
land
it's
disturbance
not,
permit.
if it's not through us, it's through the building department.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, is there a lot that we can say does not,
It looks like lot 3.
It's a lot 3, yeah, I knew there was one.
the lot 3 that may not require filing?
Lot 3.
Okay, so, what are the other lot numbers, 1 through what?
1 through,
We have, how many lots?
1
we
through
got?
13.
1
It looks
through-
like lot 7 also is out. Lot 3 and lot 7.
Okay. So lots, which one is lot 7?
Lot 7 is right here. And the wetlands over on this side. And then
Okay,
lot 3 is right there.
okay. All right, so, lots, numbers, so we need to include that lots 1 through 13 will require the recharge, either through conservation or through the building
Yeah.
permit. And lots one, so except
Green stuff.
3 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so all lots numbers 1 through 13, except 3 and number 7 will require a filing with the Conservation Commission for lot development. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. Thank you.
Thank you.
4 pages.
Al, you gotta sign these too and pass them on.
Uh-huh.
There's 4 more.
Okay.
Notice of intent, in accordance with Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice of give intent of Walsh Brothers Building Company for grading a proposed gravel access road relocation and construction drainage basins within 100 feet of an isolated wetland area located at Lincoln Estates, 533 Lincoln Road, map 38, parcels 23 and 24 in Walpole, Mass. The notice of intent, application and plans are filed with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person on December 14th, 2022, beginning at 7:45 PM. All interested persons request to be present here has been opened and continued. The engineer comments were read into the record on December 14th meeting. I guess that's it. Okay. Representing the applicant,
Joyce Hastings from GLM Engineering. And this is another one that we had addressed the comments from the town engineer and continued it at the last hearing to allow review from the commission. And we believe we're at the point now where we had addressed all the comments. This is filed under the bylaw only for those access road and the grading for the detention basins. And it's, again, along this area right here. And I believe we're at the point now where we were ready to close the hearing.
Did I skip something?
I guess we both did.
okay? Landis?
I see.
So I don't really have any additional comments, so this is essentially just for the relocation of the road and the construction of the basin, being that the functionality of the basin was reviewed under land disturbance permit and will be reviewed under the subdivision plan. So I just suggest that, that a condition be in the order that, the order should reference that the basin shall comply with the land disturbance permit and the planning board's decision. Essentially. So if there's any changing, if there's any change after those reviews, that
We would have to, if there was a
Submit revised
significant
plans
change,
or
we would have to, yeah.
configuration of the size or whatever.
Okay. Dean, any questions?
No questions. We talked about last week.
Really?
No questions.
Uh,
No questions.
Yeah. Betsy?
No questions.
Al?
No questions.
Okay. So you're gonna do the road up to lot 3 and 4, so up through lot 4? In order to get to the,
Yes,
to this,
yes,
you're
that's
going to
correct.
be doing the road, this was, I think, some
That's
question.
correct, yes.
Um,
And
Okay,
there's a staging area there off to the side.
okay. And that's as far as you're going? And then any other work is just strictly with the basin on lot, between lots 3 and 4? Yeah, okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Okay, hearing none, someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. And this- We wanted to add in. that
Our
there's any-
condition that the basin shall comply with the land disturbance permit and the planning board decision.
Okay, so that's in there, you got that? Okay. All right, so we'll make that a motion,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 700. You got something else to sign?
Lots of them tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You want to read Carl's request to continue?
Yeah, I'll just read that into the record. Is there a letter?
This is, there's the public hearings.
Is it stretch time?
Betsy, it's stretch time.
Oh, good.
Can I read- Can I read and stretch?
Yeah, she
Me out to the wetlands.
No,
I don't care if I ever go home, cause it's
Okay, you
We're
can't,
on-
because the chairman's gonna read
this
that.
is-
reservation.
you can stretch, but not talk.
Okay, no quiet.
Notice of intent, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice by giving the intent of Thomas Powers, form work associated with redevelopment of the site for proposed mixed-use building pertinent to 132, 136, 140 Washington Street, map 20, lot 32 in Walpole, Mass. The notice of intent application and plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter be held in person on December 14, 2022, beginning at 8 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Hearings have been opened and continued. We have a letter from Mr. American on this subject. I don't have to sit through a lot of stuff tonight, waiting for my appointment between Eldor and Clock Tower. I'm writing to request a continuance without discussion for Clock Tower until your next meeting on January 25th. And we meet on Tuesday, and we can do Peach and Clock Tower site visits at the same time. Okay, so he wants to continue this until the 25th. We have a 7:15, do we have, that was, we just added that, right?
Yep.
That's nothing else, so we'll make that 7:30. Someone make a motion to continue this till 7:30? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 700. Okay. Hang on. Thank you. Conservation Commission notice of intent in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice is hereby given the intent of Patrick Ellard to install an in-ground swimming pool, concrete paver patio, trellis stone steps, retaining wall, fencing, and mitigation plantings, 16 Frontier Drive, map 8, Lot 18 in Walpole, Mass. Notice of intent, application and plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person January 11th, 2023, beginning at 7:50 PM. All interested persons are requested to be present. Let's see what else we have here. This is from the town engineer. Reviewed the submitted plans and have no issues related to the filing. However, we note that proposed pool deck, trellis, fencing, etc. are within 20 feet of access and utility easement. This easement hosts active sewer lines maintained by the town. Fences, pool decks, etc. should be located outside this easement. Furthermore, the sewer manhole at the corner of the easement should be shown on the plans and raised to grade. I remain available for any questions. Okay, the Board of Health, I'll be able to provide comments prior to January 11th. Therefore, Health Department would like to provide internal comments based on the Board of Health standard motions. Health Department is not in favor of construction in wetlands and urges the homeowner to adopt standard best practices for mosquito mitigation and to work Norfolk County mosquito control for spraying and standing water treatments. That's it. Okay. Representing the applicant?
Hi, I'm Debbie Anderson. I'm the wetlands consultant, and I'm here with the homeowner and applicant.
Yes, I'm Patrick Ellard, the homeowner and applicant.
Okay.
Okay, I know it might be difficult to see, but we have a bordering vegetated wetlands, which is the green line along the bottom. The 25-foot is the next green line, and the 100-foot buffer is above that. I delineated the wetlands back in August. So as you can see, probably almost half of the property is bordering vegetated wetlands. And there's also an easement that runs along the north side of the property. This is a in-ground pool project. If you can see the blue outline of the pool, it's just over 500 square feet. They're looking to put a cement walk-around around the pool. Retaining wall is in red along the bottom. And they're also going to be putting in some fencing. They did.
Debbie, can you just move the microphone a little bit closer? So,
Oh, I'm
'cause
sorry.
It gets recorded.
Sure, no problem. And they're also going to be putting in some fencing. The earlier iteration of this, there was some of the cement surround, and the arbor was within the easement, but that has been taken out, and you received new plans showing that today. The surveyor did talk to the engineer, and he was okay with them leaving a portion of the fencing within the easement, because that could be removed easily if needed. As part of the project, they're going to be installing a mitigation planting area right above the 25-foot buffer. They're going to put in 3 trees and 12 native shrubs in that area. Erosion controls will be used during the project. They're putting in mulch tubes, which is the red line, if you can see that, going around, and that's the limit of work. There's a existing shed within that area right now that will be removed. It's partially within the 25-foot. The area is mainly lawn at this time. They will not need to remove any trees or native vegetation for the project. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Landis?
Yep, so we received the comments from the town engineer, and I forwarded them to the applicant, and they were able to revise the plan, which is the one that you have before you, with the structures outside of the sewer easement. It's an active sewer easement, so it really shouldn't be built upon, so that was a plus. The house lot did receive order of conditions back in, I think, 2001 or 2, with the construction of the house and the retaining wall and a deck. And at that point, it did reference in the order of conditions that there should be a 25-foot no alteration area, which, based on the delineation of that time, the wall was constructed 25 feet from the wetlands. So the latest delineation has the wetlands creeping closer to the wall. But, so, I think they've maintained what was the 25-foot no alteration area when the house was constructed. It's the wetlands that have slightly changed, and that happens sometimes it's because just the delineator looks at it slightly different, or could be just over time, there's been more saturation in the area. But the order that approved the house and the backyard and the wall was all 25 feet from the wetlands. So I don't think they're really working in a 25-foot no alteration area. I don't think the commission should consider that at this point. It is nice to have the additional plantings, though. So those are my only comments.
Okay.
I think I do have I think I did put in case the original as-built for the house, if you want to show them. Assuming they're as-built. Yeah, so you can see up on the screen, this is the as-built for the house construction. So everything was built according to the plan. It did conform to the order of conditions. The wall was 25 feet away from the wetlands.
Okay.
And now everything is occurring within the existing lawn area.
Okay. Dean?
Did they put up the flags, the plaques when they did this original in 2001? The alteration zones?
I don't think there was plaques. Well, they weren't on the as-built, it was just referenced in the order that the activity should be 25 feet away.
When was this?
2001.
2001.
I think we were doing plaques in 2001.
Just had a policy.
Yeah, I think we were gonna do it before that.
Okay, so you're saying that they flagged a new wetland, but the owner has operated and maintained the 25-foot no alteration zone in good faith?
There is quite a drop-off. It is a
Oh, yeah,
large
it's a
retaining wall.
Yeah, yeah.
So they haven't gone beyond that with any.
They'd have an aerial in there too, if they want to see it from near maps.
I had photos in my filing.
What are you gonna do with the soil?
So this is,
sorry.
sorry, so
Let's
this
finish
is a photo from near maps, so you can see where the house is and the grassed area where the pool is gonna go. And then the wetlands beyond the wall. So it is well defined.
Yeah, no, it's good. So how are you going to access it? I imagine from your driveway.
Yes, from the driveway, and all soil's gonna be taken off-site.
Okay, no stockpiling?
No.
Anything else, Dean?
No, thank you.
Bailey?
Lena, just so I'm clear, the retaining wall, the wetlands past, they've kind of crept up to or close to the retaining wall, but
Less than
they won't go beyond the retaining wall, you don't think?
Right, right, it just sort of changes the no alteration, the 25-foot line. Because the wetlands delineation under this filing is different from the last filing.
Thank you, that's it.
But the wetlands, it doesn't, it seems like the wetlands are pretty safely protected because of the retaining wall.
Okay. Doug?
The proposed fence does not completely surround the pool? It just connects from the house to the retaining wall?
There is existing fence above the retaining wall, so we're gonna be maintaining the existing fence, and what we're putting across the driveway, and then if you look to the south where the proposed fence and the gate is, that's just to close off, so we have it completely surrounded. But
So
we'll-
it is totally enclosed?
It'll be totally enclosed, yeah, so we're just filling in the gaps with the new fencing.
Okay, that's it.
Media?
So there's no plaques now, you said? Okay,
Not that I'm aware of, there was nothing indicated on that as-built plan.
okay. Would you consider plaques on the, on either end of the lot lines? Is that a consideration?
And probably on the retaining wall,
Yeah, somewhere to,
probably, what do we got? Frontier Drive. Yeah, if we put, what's the scale on this? 20 feet? If we put one on the north end of the retaining wall, and then one, like probably up where it says brick patio and, what is that? SRW, what's that? I'm going towards the street. You got something, I'm getting, you come up the retaining wall, and you see an SRW arrow pointing at, I don't know what it is. What's, sewer? Is that the sewer?
The south part of the brick patio, is that where you are?
We're at the end of the brick patio, yeah, we're in the middle of it, I guess. SRW?
So, like a little,
Oh, is that a sidewalk?
No,
retaining
it's
wall.
a stone retaining
retaining
wall.
Oh, stone retaining wall,
Right
okay.
here.
All right, so if you put one at the north end.
Oh, yes, that's, so at the south there, there's yard, between there and the proposed fence, so that's a step up onto the existing patio.
Okay, so if you put a plaque at the north end of your retaining wall, at the far
At the end
end,
of the planting area?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, at the north and almost to the property line there. Put it on there, because the wall goes around, that makes you've got a corner there, it goes around, yeah, okay, so put it at that corner, and then up somewheres around where that stone retaining wall indication is, and then one at your property line. That would cover the three plaques.
We can give you the specs on that, it's just a environmental plastic or brass plaque, this is no alteration beyond this point. It's just to delineate the no alteration area.
So it'd be on the 25-foot no disturb line, where I assume that would go right up to the property line on the street? It doesn't,
Okay.
it doesn't
Oh,
extend
you mean, yes.
at Frontier Drive.
Mm-hmm,
So just put one there, so basically three plaques,
okay.
all right? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Cover it? Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Betsy?
Nope.
Al?
I have a couple of questions. First question, Landis, did you say the town engineer said that this sewer easement is active?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have a question, since that's an active sewer line, how do you propose, it doesn't show on the plan, to protect that sewer line during the excavation for the pool and the installation of fence posts to protect against damage to the sewer line or collapse if a machine sits on top of it where it shouldn't be, or things like that? What are you planning
So
to
we
do
have,
that?
well, we have erosion control wrapping around the north.
Yeah, but does that protect the sewer line?
Well, it's the limit of work, so they shouldn't be going beyond that.
So if it's erosion control in the orange construction fence.
And where is that located?
The erosion control?
Yeah,
On this plan, it's shown in red. So it's going from just below the brick, the small brick area to the south of the pool, and wrapping around where the plantings are gonna go, and then coming across the top of the cement area.
Okay, so that is in the middle of the sewer easement. Okay, so let's say that the machine
Yeah.
installs a post in the middle of the pipe. How do you prevent that?
They could be digging the posts by hand as opposed to using the
Okay, well,
machinery.
what I'm getting at is I want to see some kind of protection that the excavation machine that's digging the hole for the pool doesn't overdig the line that's shown here on the plan, because if it overdigs, it digs into the easement and could expose the sewer pipe, okay? And when you make the hole for the fence posts, looks like it goes down the middle of this easement, therefore, it could strike the sewer pipe. So I want to make sure that you have some kind of procedure to prevent that from happening. It's better to be prepared and protect the sewer pipe now, rather than wait until you break it and have to repair it.
So Al, if they put, for the excavation of the pool, the erosion control and the orange construction fence along the edge of the easement, come out of the easement for the, especially for the construction of the pool, because imagine that's gonna be a bigger, heavier excavation.
Because they always have to over-dig in order to get the form for the pool in.
So we can put a condition in that the erosion control and the construction fence run along the easement for the
Okay,
excavation of the pool.
that's what I'm looking for, is something to prevent damaging the sewer pipe.
Okay.
You wouldn't want that either, because the town probably.
Right, yeah, certainly we don't want to, we certainly do not want to disturb the
It's a
sewer pipe.
disaster sometimes.
Yeah, the erosion control should be on the edge of the easement. You're showing it in the middle of the easement,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I'm concerned about, see?
So that should be, the erosion control should be on the
Edge of
edge
the
of the
easement.
easement.
Right.
Okay, we can
So
do that.
relocate that. And just, again, for this, that whatever equipment is on, that there be some indication that, no, it should be staked off so that there is no activity on the easement with equipment.
Right, no parking of equipment. or-
Their signs or continue the erosion control, your construction fence, some all the way to the street.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Hearing none? Okay. Someone will make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. 700. Okay, you've got the order and the plaques will be added.
Yes, so if you can just get us a revised plan showing the plaque location, and then the erosion control and orange construction fence, was that mesh orange construction fence along the edge of the easement. We'll put a condition in specifically for the excavation of the pool.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it?
anything else? I so make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you want the certificate of mailing receipt?
Yes, yes. Just bring them up.
Get that done tomorrow.
Great, thanks.
Do you want them to drop off 6 again?
Choose fine.
Choose that and electronic.
Mr. Jeff, you know, we have, both of the, Ross, someone here for Ross Commons and someone here for Merchant Drive for their certificates of compliance.
Yeah, I'll tell them what we need.
Okay.
I'll take care of it. I'm sure you can get it done tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Who's first? They're both here?
They're both here. Oh, no, actually, I mean, Ross, Strong Point Engineering's here for the extension for Ross Commons, just to give an update. And then I believe Merchant Drive, someone's here for Merchant Drive. We have Joyce is here for Merchant Drive to discuss the request for certificate of compliance.
Okay, so who do we do first? Okay. Which one, Merchant
Just
Drive?
take Merchant Drive.
What do we got here for Merchant Drive? This is,
So it's 45 Merchant Drive, DP 315571, request for certificate of compliance. I did go out and take a look at the site. I asked for documentation that the stormwater management system had been maintained and cleaned. I did receive documents from Truax that it's been flushed out, cleaned. The only other thing I wanted just to be addressed is the plan of Merchant Drive. This is quite old. To the rear of the property, it looked like the parking lot was extended a little further than was originally approved, and the order conditions had a swale back there, and just addressed the swale was there, so there would be no flooding to adjacent properties. So I guess Joyce is here, and maybe she can just explain if it functions the way it's supposed to.
So it is functioning the way it was supposed to. The idea was that there was a swale through the middle, between the back of the building and the property line. And they did extend the gravel parking lot beyond the pavement, and it does still go in the direction of the wetlands. And then there's a grass swale along the back of that gravel between the properties. So there's like two barriers to water getting anywhere else. For one, it's all going towards the detention basin, and the other is there is a grass swale that goes around the backside. And this was all done 20-something years ago.
25 years ago.
Right.
And the extension of the back parking lot is gravel, so it's
It's all
paved
gravel,
to a point,
right.
and then it's gravel,
Then
so
it's
it's
gravel.
still,
And it's stabilized and it's not going
Infiltrating.
anywhere.
so you're okay with it?
I'm okay with it. I just want a little more explanation.
Okay. So what are we gonna do? Vote for the certificate of compliance? Someone might wanna make that a motion?
So move.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. 700.
And just, I think the property's up for sale, so the new owner should just understand that they do have to maintain the
Oh, yeah.
stormwater system.
I've made him aware
Not
of it, so,
every
yeah.
20 years, but
I gave him Truax's number, so you're all set.
I don't know if that. We're on live TV. We're on live TV.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, and the other person waiting in the wings here is Eric Diaz from Strong Point Engineering, and you're gonna speak to the request of the extension for Ross Commons subdivision.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Eric Dias, registered professional engineer with Strong Point Engineering, representing Whitman Homes for the Ross Commons subdivision. This is a 30-lot open space subdivision, the one and only open space subdivision that you folks have in town. and apparently according to the changes in the bylaws we'll ever have in town. This was approved, I want to say, back as far as 2016, and it's been under construction for quite some time. We're at a point now, since November, we've been working very closely with the engineering department on some last checklist items that they have out there. And I can go through what those are if you'd like, but I've summarized them in a letter request that I sent to Landis on the 9th. Most of the items that are involved in that have very little to do with jurisdictional areas other than the removal of erosion controls, construction fencing, things like that, from behind the lots that are already stabilized. There are six, open space parcels in the Neponset River Watershed Association, I think I got their name right, holds the conservation restriction to those. So we've been working with those folks on satisfying comments related to the open space. There's some encroachment by homeowners and stuff like that. So the homeowners association has been made aware. Neponset has been put in contact with the homeowners association as of today, so they can deal with those things directly with the homeowners. So what we're looking for at this time is we've asked for just a period of a year to extend the order of conditions to allow us to finish this up under a current permit. We've actually got all of the as-built documentation about 90% complete. And the plan is that we finish the field work and we get that stuff to you in the form of a request for a certificate of compliance as soon as we can. We want to get the certificate of compliance closed out, and then we want to move to street acceptance as quickly as possible. We hope to have that all done in time for at least the fall town meeting. So that's the plan.
Thanks.
So, you're
Yeah,
satisfied
I'm
with
okay with the
what's going
extension
on?
of the year. I just like when these little milestones come up, I like the applicant to come in and touch base with the commission of what needs to be done. We encourage you to work with Neponset on the open space
Sure.
parcels, make sure that they're.
We will. And to the extent that they have anything to do with the interest that have not been turned over to the homeowners association, obviously we will take care of those things. But we have, as of today, provided them with the contact people for the homeowners association so they can deal directly with them on some individual lot stuff. So there's two groups that are now involved in satisfying the Neponset out there at the same time, which we do.
And I know with this subdivision, Gigi's Way is also part of the whole order of conditions. What's the?
So Whitman Homes is my client, and they have the interest to Emerald Way, Kilronan Park, and the 29 lots that are associated with that. Gigi's Way and Lot 30 off the other side of the project have actually been acquired by another developer. So they will be responsible. In fact, I think there's a notice of intent for Lot 30 in front of you because they're seeking a modification, if I'm not mistaken.
There is, but Gigi's Way is part of the.
Gigi's Way is part of this Ross Common subdivision, so if they need more time to finish Gigi's Way beyond this year, I think it would be on them to come back to you folks and request a further extension
So
at
you would
that
be
time.
looking for a partial certificate.
We would be seeking a partial certificate when the time comes, that's correct.
Okay. Do we, any of these lots that would abut the NEPRA open space, do we need anything in order to issue a certificate of compliance? Do we need something from them that says that it's okay? They don't have any issues?
The property owners abutting the open space?
Yeah, if they are, I don't know what, without looking at, I would imagine some of the property owners do abut
Yeah, they
this
do.
open space.
I think what we can do, what I would anticipate or suggest that we do, when we come forward with a request for a partial certificate, we would probably seek to include in that package both a letter from the homeowners association, so the residents say that they're satisfied, as well as a letter from the Neponset Valley, Neponset River Association, to say that they're satisfied with the open space requirements, so all that could be accounted for in that package.
That'd be a good idea.
Right, and you do as a requirement of the DEP order of conditions that you have to have a formal acceptance or passing over of the stormwater management system to the next party. So
Yes, we do.
That's a requirement of the.
Yes. And I believe our request for certificate of compliance is almost a two-step process in that we have to submit an as-built for the drainage first to be reviewed by your office and the town engineer. That gets approved, and then we come in for the request for certificate of compliance. So 2 more cracks at the apple for you guys after this.
Okay, so someone make the motion for a 12-month extension for the order?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. Good, thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Is lilac over, near East Walpole an open space? Yeah. You know, lilac and, you know, I think that's Lilac Way or Lilac
True,
Court or
it's
something.
American.
Yeah.
American.
Is that open space?
American.
Well, I wouldn't call it open space.
No, but was it built as open space?
But it's not built on, so.
This reminds me of Parks and Rec when they're like,
Well, I was just wondering if that's true, that's
scheduled
the
all the
only
meetings in
open
March
space.
what's today? March 1st.
What?
This is the.
Oh, no, we didn't start.
No, we're,
Field behind those houses?
This
No.
does remind me of.
No? I think it was, yeah.
So, Chairman, to
Parks and Rec.
continue to move this hearing
April
forward,
29th.
there's also another request for certificate of compliance for 22 Brook Street, DEP 31563. This is a order of conditions that was issued quite a long time ago, it's 63. And it was for a driveway to a single-family house off of Brook Street. The order did not have a requirement for an as-built plan. They did go by there and take a look, and seemed like there was no reason not to issue the certificate of compliance.
okay. Someone want to make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Now we have something else to sign.
Yes.
Keep it coming.
And the other item on the agenda for a vote is the extension for Pennington Crossing, DEP 315-1148, extension to the order of conditions. Again, I asked them to provide us a letter of what they've done, what they need to be done, so that we understand what they're working on, and they did submit it, and it should be in your packet, but, so I've been out there recently pretty regularly just to make sure that their stormwater management basins are functioning properly, and then had the town engineer also become involved, and they corrected some items that should have been corrected a while ago, but are working better now. They're now just working on the last building to the rear of the property, and the basin that they need to construct back there.
So it's okay.
So it's
So,
okay.
okay, so make a motion to extend the order conditions for 12 months?
I can't do it because, I'm
You're abstaining.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, so we got 601. Al abstain.
Yeah.
Do you still sign? I forget.
He doesn't have to, because you have a quorum, so you can just
We have Summer Street
stay out.
too. Summer Street is our other one.
So, Summer Street is the Boyden Estates subdivision off of Summer Street, Boyden Lane. This request for certificate of compliance was submitted quite a while ago. It's been on our agenda for several months. I've reached out to Wall Street Development requesting additional information that was required from the order of condition, and have not received it yet. I've reached out again saying that, should we keep it on the agenda, and didn't receive any information at all. So I recommend that you deny it and come back with the information that is required to issue this certificate.
Okay, I move we do that.
Have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody
Opposed.
motion.
And this was,
Red stamp.
Boyden Estates.
Boyden Estates, yeah.
So we were
Was that,
just,
were you voting, Al?
We just did, I
Al?
think, didn't
You voted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, 700. That's, okay.
you signed it anyways, and we'll check the box that says denied.
Oh, we're signing that anyway?
Sign, yeah, it's a vote, so you sign it, there's, you tell them, check the box saying denied, and it'll be a one.
We have a line through Medio's signature? Okay. Just-
No,
No forgeries going on around here.
Government document.
poetry.
Okay. Don't take offense, Amelia, just sign it.
No, none taken.
Line of demarcation.
I'll just scribble your name off next time. You want mine?
Where are we?
Like being anonymous.
You're official now.
I got a few at home.
Okay, bring a
Come out of your
personalized one.
Come out of your salary.
Anything new on,
Wow.
anything new on the enforcement orders?
No,
Nothing new. Okay. Either one.
no,
Okay.
no.
Does, doesn't it?
Okay, we have some minutes, I think. What was that? Minutes from December 14th. Someone want to move those?
I
There
have
was
a quick comment.
Okay,
Stephanie, I think, on page 3, Washington Street, it says Zimba How did that she is excited. I think it must have corrected, probably said commented.
How did that?
Yeah.
Commented that she is.
It was like, that sounds like me, but not you.
where were you on page 3?
Towards the bottom where it notes Zimba, right in the middle.
Oh, yeah, I see that, yes.
Yep. Yeah.
How did? I wondered about that.
That's all, thank you.
Okay.
That is all.
And we had another correction that Doug pointed out on the correction of the description of the pipe, HDPE. So someone want to move the minutes as noted for December 14th?
I'll move them.
Second.
The second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 700. Good. What else do we have here? Minutes of
Jack's
time.
plaque's gonna fall again.
Nothing new on the conservation land. We got one more check on the Willett Pond gift.
Oh, okay.
Nothing new on Pinnacle Trail. I'll send out the stormwater erosion control bylaw regulation changes, and we would schedule a hearing in February to go over the changes and vote. They're pretty minor changes that were made by the town council.
Okay, did you have anything on the master plan update, Dean?
No, it's been delayed. Yes, I have an update. It's been delayed.
Okay. Okay, enforcement orders, requests. We've got, do we want to, it's not, I don't see it on here, the appeal that was sent in, you haven't gotten a response for DEP?
No, it's just, the notes are just in my, the appeal for the historic mill complex. No, nothing yet. I keep on touch base with town council, and he's just telling me, they're really backed up. So.
Okay. Burns Avenue, we're still.
And then in my report, I just make reference to the off Warwick Road notice of intent that was
Okay.
submitted by Wall Street Development in November. And after review, I made a determination that it wasn't submitted correctly, because of signatures. There were signatures of Lou Petrozzi for Wall Street Development, and included a letter giving him authority to act for the two property owners that face Summer Street, where the house lots were gonna go. But he was also, had proposed to extend Warwick Road to cross a stream, and that he had no signature authority from the town to do that. So I told him that we weren't gonna accept the notice of intent, that it wasn't a complete notice of intent. And if it's not a complete notice of intent and we don't accept it, then the 21-day period doesn't begin, because it only begins once you accept a notice of intent. I touched base with DEP, they agreed, but Wall Street Development still submitted to DEP a request for superseding order of conditions based on the Conservation Commission not holding a public hearing within 21 days. I again touched base with Dan Gilmore, and you know, I think they agree with what we did. So they haven't issued anything response to that request yet.
Okay, so we'll keep that on the agenda. Okay. That's, anything in the correspondence that's of earth-shaking importance?
No, unless you want to go to the Mass Open Space Conference, it's February 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd. Let us know.
Okay.
The open space conference?
So, is there anything else that anybody has? After we close, just don't everybody walk out. Wait a minute. Okay, are we ready to shut down?
Did you vote to close the hearing?
Someone make a motion to close the hearing?
I move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are we off?